The second video is we're going to compare what we learned in ancient Athens and what we know about Alberta or other representative democracies. All right, you should have already done this with Miss Sarah, so it's also a bit of a review. All right, so ancient Athens is a direct democracy because the citizens directly vote and participate in all the decision making, whereas Alberta is a representative democracy because you actually elect someone to represent you in the decision making process. Here is a review of the three pillars in ancient Athens. All right, I've attached this because you should probably read through it if you even want to pause and you didn't do that before, so that you understand exactly what ancient Athens has. So as we discuss what Alberta has, you can kind of start thinking about the similarities and differences. Remember, focus on this because this is what you're also going to be marked on or quizzed on Tuesday. Government of Alberta, right? So this is our legislative assembly. All right, this is where the members of the assembly of our MLAs, the member of the legislative assemblies, they meet and they debate and kind of run through the laws. All right, so this is where they meet up. If you want to watch this, you can click on this video, right, and you can kind of see what it looks like. So in a democracy, as we've already talked about, we choose people who form a government and they make the decision for us. This is in a representative democracy. These representatives are supposed to listen to the needs of the people who voted them in. So if I voted in someone, they should be listening to, if not me, right, at least the group that voted them in. Sometimes you have what's called a professional politician, and they don't always represent the people that they are. They're more in it to be a politician. But that is one of the flaws with representative democracies. People, though, have very little options. They are supposed to vote based on their values. They find a candidate in their area, right? So let's say I'm in a town in Alberta. I find someone of maybe the four people who are running whose values align with me the most. Maybe I care about the environment a lot, so I find someone who also cares about the environment, right? And I vote them in and I hope they win. And if they win, they go here and they're supposed to give me a voice. So they're supposed to fight for things like the environment. That doesn't always happen, but that's what's supposed to happen. They're supposed to be our voice. This here is going to outline the voting process. What I want you to do is I want you to watch this video and I want you to click on these links and I want you to think about how do people in representative democracies get to vote? Who actually gets to vote? What defines a citizen that gets to vote? Who can vote in a representative democracy, and how is that different than in ancient Athens? What is the process of voting in Alberta? All right, how is that different than ancient Athens? So think about the actual process. Remember in the last video, we talked about how in ancient Athens they raised their hands to vote on laws. How do they do it in Alberta? All right, so click on that. Answer those questions, please. In the government of Alberta, there also is three branches. Right, we have the executive branch, we have the legislative branch, and we have the judicial branch. Okay, so the executive branch, they are responsible for administrating existing laws. All right, and they're basically making sure that the policies that are created are going to be put into practice. The legislative branch, they are responsible for making laws, and the judicial branch is responsible for kind of interpreting and then enforcing and also applying the laws through courts. Right, so that's our police force, that's our judges, that's all of that. That's all part of the judicial branch. So that's in Alberta, right? So again, we're just giving you some background information you should have already learned, so you can start to think, how is this similar? How is this different to ancient Athens? And that's exactly what you have to do, right? Similarities and difference between ancient Athens and Alberta. And I'm going to put in brackets because I know some might get confused. They're thinking about the government. Okay, so what's similar about the government? What is different about the government? If you're watching this right now, then you're going to get a bit of a leg up. But basically, think about things like the voting process. How is it different between the two? Are there both three branches of government? I know that seems like a very big similarity, Mr. Callum. But those are the kinds of things you would add. Once you're done that, you should have about 3 and 3 at a minimum. All right, 3 similarities, 3 differences. Once you're done that, you're going to complete this Venn diagram. So if you haven't done a Venn diagram before, a Venn diagram is two circles, right? Two circles overlapping, and in this middle is going to be where they have things in common. All right, so where they're not overlapping, that's why I just put ancient Athens here, you are going to go through the rights and responsibilities of citizens, and you're going to read through this, and anything that just applies to ancient Athens, you'll put in this ancient Athens section. Anything that just applies to Alberta will go in Alberta. And if it applies to both, you're going to put it in the middle. You can just put the number because I know there's a lot of space. All right? So for instance, if I'm going through and I say voting, all right, I'm going to put the number 7 somewhere. If I think only ancient Athens gets the vote, I'll put a 7. If I think only Alberta gets the vote, I'll put a 7 here. But if I think both of them gets the vote, I'll put a 7 right in there. All right? But that's, again, so you have two things really to complete. You have similarities and differences. You have Alberta, Albertan or ancient Athens, and you have to study for your quiz. So I guess that's 3 things. All right, let me know if you have any other questions. Have a good day.